Okay, that's where they go.
Yep.
Okay. Let me. I've got a pen. But just the ones in yellow here.
Not the ones in yellow. I had highlighted the list of the tables, and what I did is I copied the ones that I highlighted, and then I just left the last ones because I didn't need to.
Well, some of these people are going to be introduced later anyway. Dr. Padilla.
Okay, so we can close it now. That's fine. Yeah.
And let's see.
Jorge Río Pedre.
He's going to be. He's going. Carmen Dance.
That's fine.
Captain Sam Page.
And Jorge Río Pedre.
He's also later.
Yeah. That's fine.
Anna Crossland, Jose Gomez, Carlos Ramirez, and Gilbert Bayon.
Yep.
Alex Fenoy. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, if I may, please take your seats, and we'll get our program underway as soon as you're sitting down. We have a few stragglers out there. Please take your seats and we'll get underway. There we go. That did it. Allow me to say to everyone here tonight, buenas noches. Buenas noches. I would like to welcome you to this year's Hispanic Leaders Group's HLG Esperanza event. It coincides with the celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month, which is observed by Americans from September 15th to October 15th. During this month, the nation celebrates the histories, cultures, and contributions of American citizens whose ancestors came from Spain, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Central and South America. Tonight is a special night with HLG friends and colleagues coming together to honor and recognize Ms. Carmen Dents, who has lived a distinguished life as a model citizen and leader in the Hispanic community. Carmen, all of us here in the room congratulate you and applaud you for this honor. Let's have a round of applause. My name is Don Marsh. I've been around for a while. I hope you know who I am. Let's let it go at that. Not all the publicity is always good. It's a night that I feel very honored to be here as part of your program and as your Master of Ceremonies. I'm glad to be here with you sharing in this festivity, recognize the leaders in such an important component of our community and of our nation. Before we move on, I ask that you silence your cell phones, please. We'd like to continue the evening uninterrupted as much as possible. Now I'm going to introduce you to Kathy Doherty, Sister Kathy Doherty, who belongs to the School Sisters of Notre Dame in St. Louis and is currently Pastoral Associate at Our Lady of Guadalupe in Ferguson, who will provide an invocation for our celebration this evening. Let's give Sister Kathy a nice welcome as she comes to the podium.
It is a great pleasure to be here this evening with all. And I want to thank you for inviting me to be part of this celebration. Of course, as we know, the Hispanic leaders is anyone with that title, leaders of what you do in the community. You bring leadership and you instill that in others. And so with that, we thank you. Also, those that we'll be honoring this evening, we wish them the very best of luck in the leadership that they have been providing to each one of us. As Don mentioned, I minister at Our Lady of Guadalupe, and one of the key phrases that we use is acceptance and hope. And I noticed that on one of the awards, it is that forgiving hope. And then with another voice, helping people live better lives. And with those two combinations, I want to enter now into prayer with what each one of you do in whatever ministry that you are in. And so this is kind of a reflection on being a Catholic sister, on what does Christ look like? Christ looks like the homeless person who we see on the streets. Christ looks like the person who has had a hard day. Christ looked like those seeking to appreciate diverse cultures as each one of you. Christ looks like the elderly mom or dad in a nursing home. Christ looks like those whose lives and homes have been devastated by hurricanes and floods. Christ looks like those seeking to conserve Mother Earth. Christ looks like families at the borders. Christ looks like your dying loved ones. Christ looks like your teens as you give them the car keys for the first time, as you all know. Christ looks like children doing cultural dances for others. Christ look like those who are helping others to have a better home. Christ look like those adults who are role models for children. Now I ask you to look at one another. Christ looks like you. May we be honored tonight by those that we are bestowing this special blessing upon, and graces for all of those involved in the Hispanic Leadership Group, as we bless this food and to be with those especially who go without this evening. And we ask all of this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I would like to introduce someone now, Omar Maldonado, a former chair of the Hispanic Leaders Group, who will lead us in our national anthem.
Ask for you, please rise. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched was so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Thank you.
Singing the national anthem is difficult under almost any conditions, but singing it next to a voice like that is very, very intimidating, believe me. Thank you, Omar. As we continue our evening, let me call to the podium an energetic leader of this community, the chair of the Hispanic Leaders Group of Greater St. Louis, Tony Maldonado. Tony?
Thank you, Don. You're right. You know, there's a person in this room that every time he gets up to talk in front of 400 or 500 people, he always acknowledges his better half. And you know, even though that person is probably 30 years younger than I am, I want to say that. Thank you so much to chair this committee of the Premio Esperanza. You and your team did a great job. Let's give Maria a round. I want to welcome all the members, the board members, our guests, our invited guests, and all the VIPs. And everybody in this room, as far as I am concerned, is a VIP. So I want to make sure that you understand that I relate with everyone in this room on the same level. You're all VIPs. You bring a lot of hope and commitment to our community, not just the Hispanic community, but the greater St. Louis region. Ms. Carmen Dance, as the 2019 HLG Premio Esperanza Award recipient, and Don Willie as our 2019 Chairman's Champion Award recipient. We're happy and very proud of you both. A round of applause for those two leaders. Most of you have dealt and have seen and have enjoyed the performances of Grupo Atlántico, so eloquently directed by Carmen Dance. And I, for one, was very happy to have been asked to do a couple of little things with her a couple of times. And I'm very proud to have been able to witness the quality of education that you bring to those dancers. And I thank you for it. One of the side effects of those performances are cross-cultural engagement. Her last performance at the International Festival dealt with the history of 3 cultures in Colombia. And that was super interesting to get to know that. Tri-ethnicity, you said? That was the term you used, tri-ethnicity. And that stuck in my brain because really, when we look back, we're all like that, all of us. So again, thank you for teaching us that and for bringing that to life. I want to thank our sponsors who without, let's say it right out, without their money we couldn't do this. So thank you sponsors, thank you advertisers, thank you everybody that made this event very special for us. And like I said earlier, I think of you as people in our community. I just cannot fathom a community without volunteers. There's no way. I cannot fathom that. There are cities that struggle, and I mentioned this a little earlier, that there's cities that struggle with their budgets to make their cities that much better. They just don't have the money to do it. But if they had volunteers to fill in the gaps, to be that safety net, we can have great communities throughout this great land. So I want to thank all of you for doing that kind of work, because I think everybody in this room does that kind of work. Everybody in this room brings hope to our community. Everybody in this room brings hope to our future generations. Everybody in this room works tirelessly to make St. Louis a great city. Please join us in celebration of Carmen's and Don's legacies by sharing the joy of friendship, the hopes and dreams for a better St. Louis, and our love by wishing them lasting success in their endeavors. Warmest regards and happy celebration.
Thank you, Tony. We are pleased to have with us tonight several distinguished guests among them, and I'm going to read their names and acknowledge their presence here tonight. Alex Fenoy with Midwest Bank Center is here. Kathleen Morrissey with the Missouri Arts Council, Dr. Sam Page, the newly minted St. Louis County Executive, Dr. Julie Frickus, President of St. Louis Community College, Anna Crossland, President of the International Institute, Jose Gomez, the Vice President of Laborers Local 110, Carlos Ramirez with the St. Louis Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and Gilbert Bailon, editor of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Thank you all for being here, and there are more. Also with us, Travis Wilson of the City of Florissant, Marvin Alonzo Greer with the Missouri History Museum, Mark Sundloff, the Missouri History Museum, Captain Benjamin Jones with the Missouri Highway Patrol, and Joseph Palm, Director of Missouri Minority Health. Thank you too. Thank you also for being here this evening, and they deserve a round of applause as well. And I would like to recognize current board members who are with us this evening that have contributed and provided support to this event since it was created by the Hispanic Leaders Group. The executive committee members are Antonio Tony Maldonado, seems I've heard that name before. Sandra M. Knight, who is the Vice Chair. Guillermo A. Rodriguez, Recording Secretary. Feliz Tovar, Correspondence Secretary. And Kathleen J. Spies, who is the Treasurer. The Directors at Large also with us. Yes, go ahead. Feel free. It's perfectly appropriate. The Directors at Large, Karen Oresti, Denora Bomarito, Martha Castellanos, Mauricio Gobo, Ramon Legabo, Sal Valadez, and Maria Yaksik. Applause for those folks as well. And let us also acknowledge major sponsors and supporters. Without their help, this would be a somewhat different evening. Laborers International Union of North America, LaUna Local 110. St. Louis, Kansas City Carpenters Regional Council. Eastern Missouri Laborers District Council. Dr. Rush Robinson and Mrs. Layla Robinson, the minority office that is, of the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services. And we also thank those individuals and companies and organizations that supported HLD with ads and congratulatory messages in our printed program, the book that you will see or have seen. As you peruse our printed program, you'll see their names. To them we say, muchas gracias. And my pages are sticking together here. Now, we also must highlight the important contribution of the many volunteers whose dedication with time and love make this event possible. Many thanks to everyone who helped with tonight's event. So many to be acknowledged, so give them applause. They worked very hard to make this a successful evening. Before we actually eat, we're going to have some more remarks. And this time I'm pleased to welcome the aforementioned Dr. Sam Page, who is the St. Louis, Baltimore. I worked in Baltimore 40 years ago, and I'm still saying Baltimore County Executive. St. Louis County Executive Sam Page. Dr. Page?
Well, thanks for having me. I didn't know you were asking me to say something, but I'm glad to say hello and good evening. I just thought I was being called out. I need to take my seat, and some music was going to play, like at the Cardinals games. I've been county executive for about 5 months, so I'm new, but we've been busy. You can look online and see what we've been doing in the past 100 days. It's called What I've Been Doing in the Past 100 Days. It's my 100-day report, but I think most people want to know what you're going to do moving forward. So I'm hopeful that we'll have a St. Louis County that is safer and healthier. That means a well-paid, well-staffed, well-trained police department that is responsible for its actions and its inactions. I care very deeply about public health. My background is I'm a medical doctor. I've been practicing anesthesiology for 25 years. Not anymore, but I was before this job 5 months ago. I want to see less smoking, less vaping, less drug use. I want to attack this opioid epidemic head on. I'd like to see Medicaid expansion in Missouri. I think that's the right thing to do. Everything in our office will be looked through a lens of equity and inclusion, and health disparities is something we're going to be tackling head on, along with long-standing historical, racial, and economic segregation in our community. I did not prepare remarks, which means I did not get a time limit, so I'm going to stop, but I hope to get to visit with you. I've got a couple other places to be tonight, but I'll be here for about an hour or so. Thanks.
Well, he may not have known he was going to speak, but ask a politician to speak, and by golly, they will speak. Thanks, Dr. Page, for doing that impromptu for us. Now I would like to invite, guess who, Tony Maldonado to the podium to talk about the HLG Chairman's Award. Tony, you want to come back? Thank you.
I apologize. I had to leave the room for a couple of things. And now I'm winded. I'm still taking care of children. My 2 grandkids text, they're lost. But they're on their way. Anyway, it's my pleasure this year to give the Chairman's Championship Award to a gentleman that has been working behind the scenes, that has brought to the St. Louis community, to the United States community, and to the island of Puerto Rico a lot of his resources. A lot of boots on the ground after the hurricane in Puerto Rico with his team and his laborers. There's some things that he does that a lot of people do not know that he's doing out there. Since I'm a nosy body, I know a couple of things that you do. So, without further ado, the Chairman's Championship Award this year goes to Don Willie of Liuna 110.
It's truly an honor to receive this award from the Hispanic Leadership Group. What the laborers, what the carpenters, what unions have in common, Sister said it, helping people live better lives. And that started with me when you sent this little bitty teacher from Rockwood named Linda Mertz, and she came in my office very squeamish and sat down and figured she could get a couple $100 for a scholarship award. And I said, come on, Linda, you can do better than that. I mean, $200 or whatever. Come on, what's a scholarship? She said $1,000. I said, let's do $1,000. And she just cried there. She said, don't not want to make her cry. But if we're going to get in, we're going to get in. And then you sneaky people sent in Jaime Torres. And if you know Jaime, it's all over after that. There's no return. And I hope he's doing well, but Eileen Wolfington, Linda Mertz, Jaime, Tony, so many friends in this room. And it's been a great relationship. Things we can work together, expanding Medicaid, voter registration. The census is very important to this community. You need to be counted. We need to help you get counted. Okay? These are the interactions that we can do, scholarships to universities and colleges are great, but we offer a second career path, and we offer both the best of both worlds.
Good evening and welcome to the Hispanic Leaders Group of Greater St. Louis Esperanza Hope Award Ceremony. Tonight, we are delighted to welcome you to celebrate the selection of Ms. Carmen Sofia Dent as the 2019 recipient of this beautiful award. Carmen has been with us in the St. Louis community for nearly 37 years. During that time, she has been a mentor to many, a renowned scientist, and a dedicated artistic leader to many. Carmen has worked tirelessly for the Hispanic community and the community at large. Many of you have seen her across the region, engaged with her dance troupe as founder and director of Grupo Atlántico. a folk dance training for young individuals that are aspiring to know about our artistic rich heritage in Colombia and the Caribbean. Carmen has also been a strong contributor to the sciences. She has worked for 37 years at Washington University School of Medicine in the Department of Radiology. Her dedication and her contributions are well known to many. Tonight, we celebrate her and we are letting her know how much we appreciate all of the contributions, all of the love, all of the educational inspirations that she has mentored to so many. The Anthony B. Ramirez Premio Esperanza was established by the Hispanic Leaders Group of Greater St. Louis in 2003 under the initiative of the late Anthony B. Ramirez. Premio Esperanza inscription states, "To you for giving hope to those seeking change." Carmen Sofia, you have given us hope and you promote cross-cultural understanding. You give us an inspiration and the hope for change. Carmen Dens, we are happy, we are delighted, we are thankful for your existence, for your hard work, and for your beautiful soul. Congratulations.
Ladies and gentlemen, don't interrupt your dessert, but we're going to continue the program now. After a wonderful dinner. It was great, wasn't it? The chef, I'm sure, appreciates that. Let me introduce board member Maria Yaksik. She's going to be showing us a short video about HLG, and that'll be on the big screen, of course. And we'll also be talking about scholarships. A very nice round of applause, please, for Maria.
Good evening. Thank you for being here. We're so happy to enjoy this wonderful occasion for Carmen, our guests, and thank you so much for being here. Unfortunately, I was informed that the video is not available. So you get to hear me? Oh, what can I say? So let's talk about HLG. What is the Hispanic Leaders Group? And that was the main purpose of the video, is for you to understand exactly what we're doing. And the mission of the Hispanic Leaders Group is to promote and support the advancement of our Hispanic community through networking, education, and advocacy. So we're trying to foster some harmony between all of us. No, just not necessarily just with the Hispanics, but with the community at large here in St. Louis. It is very important for us to be, for everybody to be aware of who we really are, in the sense that we are really people that are trying to promote growth, right? And we try to promote unity. And aside from that, we have, our main purpose really is to serve as a coalition, an organization for all Hispanics. We know that we have great talent among us, and that innate drive for growth really is what makes us who we are. And I think sometimes we don't get recognized, and that's why we are here, to make sure that people understand who really we are, And through the various endeavors that we engage, we aim at serving our community. As you all aware, we already talked about the scholarships, but we have 6 times a year, we invite special people to come and talk and share some special information that we might have. As a matter of fact, our last meeting that we had our Sam Page come, and he had just become part of had taken office, and he was invited so he can come and share with us what his goals were, and also we took an opportunity to ask how he was going to incorporate the Hispanic community within his goals. So again, our aim is to make sure that the community at large understands who we are and our strengths and what we are all about. Aside from those meetings that we have 6 times a year, we also collaborate in the Advocacy Day that we go to Jefferson City. So we go up there, and depending on what is important to us at that time, we go and talk in a nonpartisan position how we want the leaders and the politicians to help our community grow and support not only the businesses, but also all those people that need our understanding and regulations and laws that are going to make our life better here. And we're going to talk about the scholarship program. Yes, this is a big thing that we try to be in part of, and understand that it's not just the Hispanic Leaders Group. This is a very awesome collaboration that we have between all the Hispanic organizations. The Hispanic Leaders Group is just the umbrella, and we come together for one night and celebrate all those students that apply for scholarships and were given an award. No, we were very happy that this past time that we had the event, we provided $87,600 to students here in our community. And again, this is not something that is just done by the Hispanic Leaders Group. It's a cooperative effort by the Hispanic Scholarship Alliance and numerous organizations. I'm also part of the board of the Bolivian Society, the Venezuelans, the Puerto Ricans, all of these wonderful organizations come together, and Carmen Dance also has a scholarship. So it is just a collaborative effort, and to be able to help so many students. When we think about $87,000, that's a lot of money. But and tonight we have 2 wonderful students that have joined us, and I don't think I see them. Do you see them? Don't see them, but they're supposed to be coming up here. Oh, I think I see them at that table. Would you guys come up and introduce yourselves, please? These are 2 of the awardees. They were the recipients of this past July of a scholarship, and we're happy to have them. Please give them a hand.
Good evening. My name is Claudia Romero, and I'm doing the radiology technology at Forest Park.
Yeah, come this way.
Like I said, my name is Claudia. I'm doing the radiology technology at Forest Park Community College, and I did receive an award last year, which I was really grateful for. Yeah, I'm really excited to be here. Ms. Knight just kind of said she had a job for us, but didn't know I was going to speak for you guys tonight. So, thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Lisette de Jesus. My major is accounting. I received a scholarship like 2 months ago. It was from Hacemos Scholarship.
Thank you. Considering that we have one of our missions, the opportunity to provide help for all our students, the Hispanic students here in our community, we want to take an opportunity tonight to see if, and ask our guests, they didn't know this apparently, to ask if they could come by your table, and we're just going to take a couple minutes, and if you are willing, and we would really appreciate if you can support our endeavor of trying to create more funds for our next scholarship event, which will happen next year. So if you could have couple minutes, and the girls will be able to pass. There are some envelopes at your table, so if you could take the opportunity to just provide us a donation, we really, really appreciate, mainly because it is, again, a drive that it is not just part of the Hispanic Leaders Group, but it is a collaborative effort, and be able to keep on providing some support to our students. To me, education is where the essence of growth is. So we need to keep on providing opportunities for our students to be able to grow and provide an education for them. Also, I want to mention that we have a couple programs that are coming up. This October 11th, we're going to have a trivia night. If you like music, this would be your thing to attend. It is a music trivia night, and it will be October the 11th from 7 to 9, and it will be at the John Kennedy Community Center in Florissant. All the details, of course, you will encounter and find them at our website. And then on October the 9th is when we have our regular general meeting, and at that time we're going to have the Hispanics be highlighted into the different contributions that they have done to the United States Armed Forces. And we will be at the Soldiers Memorial Museum highlighting all the different contributions that the Hispanics have done in the major wars of the United States. It is incredible to realize, if you look at history, how much of an impact the Hispanics have done, and I think it would be a good opportunity to learn more about that. So I would, if at all possible, you can be there. It would be Wednesday the 9th, so it'll be in 2 weeks, and it will be at the Soldiers Memorial Museum. So please join us. Again, for more details, you can always go to our website. And then in December, we will have another general meeting. At that time, we will have elections. So do please consider joining us. The best way that we can make sure that our community grows is by having people like you be part of the Hispanic Leaders Group, because you understand what our needs are, you understand what we can accomplish, and it is only together that we can keep on growing. I will be in the back over there, so if you are willing to join us, please do.
Dr. Luis Arpadilla was born and raised in Mayagüez. Yes. How did you know I was going to say that? Oh my God, he's reading my mind. He earned a Bachelor of Science in Ecology and a Doctorate of Veterinary Medicine, DVM, at Cornell University. He completed a veterinary internship in small animal medicine and surgery at Oradell Animal Hospital in Oradell, New Jersey, and a residency in zoological medicine at St. Louis Zoo. After becoming a board-certified zoo veterinarian recognized by the American College of Zoological Medicine, and working in various roles as a zoo veterinarian and leader at the Oklahoma City Zoo and the Smithsonian's National Zoo, Dr. Padilla returned to St. Louis Zoo in 2011 and served in the zoo's head veterinarian and director of animal health from 2013 to 2019. In April 2019, Dr. Padilla became Vice President of Animal Collections, where he oversees the care, welfare, and future of all the zoo's animals and their caretakers. He has dedicated his career to veterinary sciences, animal care, welfare, and conservation, and managing and mentoring animal care professionals. Dr. Padilla believes that in order to save wildlife from extinction, we have to invest in developing meaningful and impactful connections between animals and people. And conservation actions must remain relevant to local communities and culture. Dr. Luis R. Padilla.
Buenas noches, gracias Tony. ¿Quién es el mayagüezano?
Aquí estoy yo.
Okay. Thank you to the Hispanic Leaders Group. This is such a wonderful night. What a great event. My first time joining you, and it's a pleasure. And thank you, Maria. Thank you to the group for inviting me and giving me a chance to share my stories. Sitting down there hearing Tony talk about me, it sounded almost surreal because I remember how I started my life wanting to be where I am today. And it wasn't always clear that I would get to be in charge of all the animals for the premier zoological organization in the United States, where we're leading the charge against animal extinction. And it is very humbling to be able to be there. As he said, I am a veterinarian by training, and the St. Louis Zoo is the best place where any veterinarian could ever want to work. In my current title as Vice President of Animal Collections, as he said, I look after the care and welfare of all of the zoo's animals, which is almost 18,000 individual animals. Now that's counting insects and snails and so forth, but they also count hundreds of species, many of which are endangered, and a very large team of people. And I've really embraced my charge to really look after the welfare of people and the welfare of our communities, not just the animals. Is it just me hearing angel bells? So what I can say is I really have landed in what I thought would be my dream job. I could sit up here for hours just telling you all the stories about the baby animals that I've brought into the world, the animals that I've said goodbye, the species that we have saved, the thousands of even native Missouri animals that we have restored into the wild. But that's a story that any zoo professional can probably tell you, especially if they work at the St. Louis Zoo. Going back to the history of Marlon Perkins, to all of the current stories that you can read about and see on cable TV, Secrets of the Zoo, The Secret Life of Animals, all these things that have now become mainstream. And it's hard for me to believe that I am one of those people. And I never really thought that I would necessarily be here. So rather than tell you all about all of those stories, I'll tell you a little bit about how I got here. And I kind of look at this like if I had the chance to talk to the younger version of me, this is what I would tell that person. And it would really come down to three major stories that I consider pretty fundamental in getting me to where I've landed today. I'll tell you the first one is about throwing rocks. The second story is about not throwing a baseball. And the third one is about boomerangs. And you're thinking I'm going to talk about animals. So I'm very proud to say yo soy boricua, para que tú lo sepas. I am Boricua, which is the Taíno name for our lovely island. I remember as a little kid, the first time that I went to the zoo with my mom, the Zoológico de Mayagüez in the 70s, and even today, is a very far cry from the St. Louis Zoo. But that was my reality. That was the zoo that we had. That's where we went to see the animals. And I remember the first time I saw a rhinoceros. I remember it very vividly, even though I don't remember how old I was at the time. I know I was really young, but I do remember the first time I saw a rhinoceros. She was so huge. She had beautiful skin, and it was like body armor. And I remember her just kind of walking around with her wrinkly, beady eyes, eating, and of course that big protruding horn coming off the top of her nose. It was like I was staring at a unicorn. Well, maybe a chubby unicorn, but you know what I mean. It was just a magical thing that I had never seen. I had probably seen in picture books. It was a tank. It was a dinosaur, even though I'd never seen a tank or a dinosaur either. But I was just mesmerized by this wonderful animal that I just saw there. And I was just watching her, annoying my little brother and my mom, who just wanted to kind of get going. But I was just watching her. And I saw those big fat lips kind of come all the way to the ground and crunch on the grass and just kind of mow it flat. And it was so amazing. She didn't move very fast, but I was just watching her and watching her. And I was so concentrated on watching her that I didn't see the little kid that snuck up behind me, picked up a rock and threw it at the rhino. He didn't hit her, not at first. So he picked up another rock and threw it. And then he startled her, and she jumped up, and then another kid joined in, and both kids started hurling rocks at her because she was reacting to it. So I'm watching these kids, they're laughing, they're entertaining themselves because they're harassing this animal. And I was like looking at it, so I picked up a rock, and it felt so good when I took that rock and I smacked that kid on his back with that rock. And I know from that moment where I threw a rock at another kid, which I really am not advocating for violence, I'll get to that. It is horrible to throw a rock to another human being. But I knew that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to fight for animals like that. I wanted to fight for the underdog, the ones that couldn't help themselves but be there when people are throwing rocks at them. And I also knew that when I picked that rock, metaphorically, it was a call to action. Because rocks don't throw themselves. And if you don't pick up the rock and throw it yourself, those kids are going to keep throwing them and they're going to land where you don't want to land. And so I knew that throwing a rocks was going to be my calling card growing up, and that I wanted to always save and protect animals. And the same feelings that I had about protecting that animal and watching that animal is really what I wanted my life to be about. So there's another side to that story. It has to do with mi mamá, who didn't think it was really cool that I took action or that I threw a rock. Ay, muchacho, ¿qué tú hiciste? Bendito. When that story did not end very well. But I did learn my lesson that you don't throw rocks at other kids. And at the end of the day, I came to appreciate that what my mom did, even though I got in trouble, I didn't go to the zoo for a long time after that. But what she did was really, she channeled my passion to something perhaps more productive than just throwing rocks at some other kid. I'll come back to that because it was really my parents, the networks that they put together that allowed me to get to where I am today, but really that gave me that framework to kind of channel the energies into positive things. That even an introverted, shy little kid had the courage to pick up a rock and hit another kid, and yet that was the wrong thing, but for the right reasons. And just learning how to channel that energy. So I'm going to come back to the whole idea of family and networks and that, because I think that's going to be a key part of this story. But I did want to get to that second story. So I already told you about throwing the rocks. I said I would talk about dropping a baseball. And so it had nothing to do with the fact that I like throwing rocks, but when I was in high school, I was a pretty decent baseball player. I could throw pretty well, and I had an opportunity to be sent to a baseball camp being run by former major league players in Winter Haven, Florida. These two brothers that were running a baseball camp. And so I went there thinking, baseball at the time was everything in my life. It was really how I connected with a lot of the kids around me that didn't really care about animals, but we connected about baseball. It was around my family traditions. My dad loved baseball. My brother loved baseball. I loved baseball. I played baseball. Everything was baseball. And to a 16, 17-year-old me, that was everything. It was so cool to be good at baseball and play baseball. And so when I was sent to Winter Haven, Florida for this camp, I thought, I'm going to be a professional baseball player. It was the coolest thing. But I still loved animals. I still loved the idea that I wanted to do something about animals. And so at the end of this camp, where all these scouts are there from colleges and universities and some of the major leagues, you get a scorecard. And my scorecard said that I had decent enough skills that I could play at the college level, that I probably could get some scholarships, and I did get some offers, and that with development I could get to be a professional player, maybe a career minor league player. I was good enough to be make a living out of playing baseball. But I really tried to look at what my passion was, and I thought back at how I always feel around animals and protecting animals, and how I felt like making the world a better place by not letting some of these animals go extinct. And being good enough at baseball wasn't going to make me the best at being able to protect those animals. And it was a tough choice, because I realized that in order to really be the best at the path that I wanted to follow, I had to give up on something potentially very good. And a couple of years ago, I read Lin-Manuel Miranda gave a commencement speech at the University of Pennsylvania, and he stole my line when he said, "There are times when you say no to the good opportunities so that you can say yes to the best opportunities." So a life passion that was triggered by throwing a rock actually came refined by a baseball that I didn't throw. And I gave up on playing baseball. I recognized that in order to be a veterinarian and care for animals, there weren't that many vet schools at the time. In fact, when I was trying to get into vet school, there were 25 accredited vet schools. And that pool of limited vet schools, only maybe 5 of them had programs that focus on zoo and wild animals. So out of the 25, I had to get into one of those 3, but I didn't want to just get into one. I really wanted to get into the best. And so I gave up on a lot of things. And I did get into Cornell University, where I spent 8 wonderful years of exploration and learning and connecting with mentors and teachers and animals. And that education was really the key, because up until that point, I was just a kid with a funny accent from a small town, relatively small town, right? that was just dreaming about what I could be. And once I got into the reputable place and what I considered to be the best, that opened so many doors where, now I have the credentials and I have the training to open those doors and get to where I want to be. So it all came because I decided not to throw those baseballs. Now, don't get me wrong, I still love baseball. Yadier Molina is like my favorite player. I have more Yadi shirts than any other piece of clothing that I own. And so I threw rocks to protect and take actions, because if you just sit, somebody else is going to throw the rocks. I made choices not to throw a baseball because I wanted to go from really good to the best. And the third story is about how I became a boomerang. First time I came to St. Louis was in 1999. I was in veterinary school at the time, and I knew I wanted to save wildlife and save species. And the St. Louis Zoo in 1999 had, and still has, an excellent reputation for the care and welfare and conservation of animals. And that's really what I wanted to be a part of. I wanted to be, again, amongst the best. So when they took me for a 3-month veterinary student preceptorship, I was in heaven. The amount of dedication, innovation, empathy, knowledge, expertise that the veterinarians at the St. Louis Zoo had at the time, and they took the time to mentor me, was just confirmation that this is exactly the type of work at the exact type of level that I wanted to be. And so after my 3 months here in St. Louis at the zoo, I went back, I graduated from vet school, I worked at a small animal clinic, and then in 2001, the St. Louis Zoo allowed me to come back for the first time. I boomeranged my way back into St. Louis when I was a veterinary resident. And so for 3 years already I was a veterinarian, but I was allowed over those 3 years to truly specialize in a hands-on development as a zoo-based veterinarian. In those 3 years, I further fell in love with my passion for saving animals and caring for the endangered species, but two other things happened. I really fell in love with this city. I fell in love with St. Louis, with everything that this place has that is so amazing. I fell in love with our people. And I literally fell in love with Elaine, who happened to be working at the zoo, and she's here tonight. But then at the end of 3 years, they kick you out because they did their part. They made you a specialist. Now it was my turn to go elsewhere, lead my own teams, mentor my own people, teach my own residents. And those years when I was away from St. Louis, I'm very proud of the people the veterinarians that are now leaders themselves, saving species that I got to train and that I made a difference in training them in their careers. The hundreds of students that I mentored through undergraduate into veterinary school, some of which decided that they didn't want to be veterinarians, but I still feel like the time that we spend with them as stewards of science and the environment and animals really made them much better people and empowered them to make the decisions and the choices with their lives and their careers, that they're just better citizens. So even if it wasn't necessarily about saving animals at that point, it was about people. And so I worked at the Oklahoma City Zoo, at the Smithsonian's National Zoo, at the Secret Smithsonian's Conservation and Breeding Center. And in 2011, I boomeranged my way back to St. Louis for a third time. And when I say boomerang, it's in all of these instances, it's been about the physical return to the place. But what I really mean is recognizing the things that ground you and bring you back. It's recognizing those core values, that level of excellence that always resonated with me, that I wanted to be a part of, and that's really what I was returning to every single time that I came back to the St. Louis Zoo. My last boomerang move happened in April of this year when, as I contemplated where I wanted to be with my career, being a very technical, very skilled veterinarian, I also kept developing more on investing in people and leadership skills. And the St. Louis Zoo allowed me to boomerang into a different role at the institution when they made me a part of their senior leadership. And there's bells again. So I shifted from a very technical role as a veterinarian to being one of the people that the zoo relies on for leadership and vision at the highest levels of the institution and moving into the future. And what I found myself in, after going to a major national conference with other zoo leaders, is that the St. Louis Zoo and my place at the St. Louis Zoo is part of the most diverse leadership group of any of the zoos in North America and possibly the world. And it's because the zoo has recognized that in order to stay relevant, that diversity, that inclusion piece really matters. It's not just about the credentials of the person with the doctorate from Cornell or the PhD from the University of Chicago. It's truly about the ability for all of us to think differently and together come up with ways in which we stay relevant. We're opening a second zoo campus in Spanish Lake, Missouri, because we realize that's going to be a very different asset to our neighbors and our community. In order for zoos to stay relevant and save species, we need to do a better job as scientists and as cultural organizations to get people to connect with what we care about. Those meaningful connections, because the science is there, the environmental knowledge is there, but without those people connections, we're not going anywhere. And so it is my role that as we have animals or scientific exhibits in zoos, that when a visitor, a guest, comes across that something gets triggered, a very powerful emotional connection towards their version of a chubby rhino that will elicit a response for them to be able to take action and throw that rock when the time comes. We can only do that if we really look at what our guests, what our audience, what our communities look like, so we can better serve them and better elicit that sort of change that is powerful to how we save species, that is useful to our environment and the future of our world. So I think I just have a few more minutes, and I could talk about some of the really cool baby animals that we have at the zoo. But without pictures, it just doesn't do justice. So I did say I would get back to networks. Because if I don't talk about the networks, I've only told you half of the story, and the story would be flawed. Because if you throw rocks, if you drop a baseball and you let go of a really good opportunity, and if you keep coming back to where you started, without a network to put it all together and make it work, it fails. And so my first example was a network of family and friends that supported me and redirected my passion to not throw rocks at people, but really be productive. It's networks like what we have here tonight that support people, that come up with the scholarships. The networks that strengthen a lot of those relationships and provide opportunities. If I was still talking to the younger version of me, I would say, whatever I've accomplished, it's not about you, and you didn't really go at it alone. You have to be humble, and you have to recognize all the networks and all the people that were behind you at different times, even when we don't talk about them. They're there. They're the secret backbone that allowed all these stories to be weaved into the narrative that I am today. So it was the network of family that redirected my passion, the network of mentors that helped me decide between good and best, the networks that helped me with deciding on schools, the networks that helped me decide on educational opportunities and what scholarships were out there, the people that provided the funds for me to have scholarships so I wouldn't have to go at it alone. Now, I did still take on a lot of student loans, but even the people that lended me the money, those were the networks that supported me. And there were also the networks of the times when I thought, maybe I don't belong here, and the people that reached out and told me the stories of why I really did belong and what I could bring to the table. So, actions, because rocks don't throw themselves. We need to be the ones that make them happen. Sometimes we have to pass on the good in order to get to the best. And we always wind up boomeranging or returning to the core values, whatever it is that they are found. And if I was still talking to the younger me, I would say, you know what? You'll be fine. And I hope you've been listening better than I would have listened when I was younger. But trust me, if you trust on those networks, you'll be fine. And I see we had some scholarships tonight. They may have left by now, but to a lot of those young people, maybe the younger me in the audience is not passionate about rhinos and saving animals. Maybe somebody that's passionate about medicine. Maybe it's somebody passionate about saving people, the law, public service, engineering, architecture, music, whatever it is. That passion will be fine because of the networks that weave them. So I would say to the younger me, go ahead, throw the rock and change the world. So thank you.
Dr. Padilla, congratulations. And as a baseball fan, you might like to know that the Cardinals are winning tonight. But not by much. It's 1-0 in the bottom of the fifth. Well, continuing our sub-theme this evening, the Maldonado story, part, 6 or 7? I'm going to ask Maria Teresa Maldonado to come to the podium and tell us more about the Premio Esperanza Award.
Gracias, Dr. Padilla, por compartir. Thank you to Luis for sharing the story. And I want to say that the Maldonados has done a lot of many years here, and we're looking for the new generation to pass la batuta. That means to pass it on, because Antonio is 71, Maria Teresa is 69, and we have been married 46 years, and guess what? It's time for the Maldonados to say, let's go to the nursing home. No, but wanted to share with you that this Premio Esperanza, and I might get a little bit emotional, it's very, very, very dear to me and to many of us. This is the work of Anthony B. Ramirez. It is basically a man that comes from humble beginnings, an immigrant from Mexico that went to Kansas, that studied in a small Catholic university, San Benedict, right? And Benedictine College. And that out of hard work, he basically came to St. Louis University and got his degree, doctorate degree, and became a lawyer. And the story is this humble person, and we argue all the time because we were stubborn, both of us, but that's why I love him very much, and many, many, many people here love him dearly. He departed back in 2009, but he was the founder of the Hispanic Chamber, the founder of the Hispanic Leaders, a tireless fighter against discrimination. When Valley Park, our little community, became kind of a cesspool for rhetoric that I'm not going to go into politics, I promise myself, but he was a tough person, a strong defender. And here we are tonight. So Anthony is going to be smiling because, you know, he basically was the person that planted that seed, and here we are many, many years after. We want you to join us. He would be very happy. This is an umbrella organization. It's not that we are in any way taking away the value of the many organizations. We just try to advance it by being together. We are together, and together the sum of what we want to be. So Maria wanted me to let you know that in your program there's a little envelope. You can send it in, or the girls can come and pick it up if you have a little bit of extra that you want to put in that envelope. Or if you want Maria, who's the chair of that membership committee, to follow up later on, just fill it up, let us know. Like Tony said, you know, we've been married too long. We've been married too long. We finish each other's sentence and we drive people crazy, but I married a good guy. Well, what can I tell you, right? And then just know that we're going to celebrate Carmen Dance now, because the man upstairs that departed in 2009 would be very proud of her. So with that, look at your envelopes. If you have a little bit, the girls are going to go by and pick them up. If you need information, we'll be here. And thank you for coming. We love you guys.
Maria Teresa, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to ask the HLG Vice Chair, Sandra Knight, to come here to the podium to tell us a few words about the Premio Esperanza recipient, Carmen Dance.
Good evening. I'm actually very pleased to have the opportunity to highlight the achievements of the 2019 Anthony B. Ramirez Premio Esperanza recipient. Our honoree has been described, and I'm not going to say who described her, as a vivid example of a wonderfully balanced dichotomy. On one side, a scientific leader, while on the other hand, a cultural icon. She's strong, direct, tireless, and gifted with the virtue of discipline. To help us understand such complexity, one must learn a little bit about her cultural heritage. She's a native of Barranquilla, a city in the Caribbean coast of Colombia, and the site of the world's second largest carnival. After Rio de Janeiro, I knew. Okay. Carnival in Barranquilla originated from a combination of pagan ceremonies, Catholic beliefs, and ethnic diversity. During this celebration, Europeans, Africans, indigenous people, and cultures converge. As our honoree has stated previously, this is a trio legacy. Her passion for music and dance took root both at home and in the streets of Barranquilla. As a youngster, she immersed herself in an extravaganza of music, movements, and customs, both at parties and parades. She learned to dance cumbia, porros, gaitas, bullerengues, and carnival dances such as garabato and congos. She also traveled to other cities in the Caribbean coast of Colombia, such as Cartagena and Santa Marta, captivating the effect of African and indigenous cultures. In order to preserve and continue her cultural heritage, she created a dance group in St. Louis in 1995. As founder and director of Grupo Atlántico, she promotes the folklore of her great heritage and the great heritage of Colombia. And she does this throughout the St. Louis metro area and the state of Missouri. Grupo Atlántico is described as a family of multinational and multi-generational performers. Approximately twice per month, dancers, drummers, and singers gather at the founder's home to practice for performances. Many of the members of Grupo Atlántico are also beneficiary of her efforts to create an environment conducive to discipline, open-mindedness, personal respect, and self-discovery. For the past 25 years, the group has been in continuous operation, and it has been showcased over 100 times at events, festivals, school, and civic organizations. All of this have been taking place while the founder worked full-time as a professor of radiochemistry at Washington University Medical School, from where she retired after 37 years, I guess, of service. Although our honoree was teaching and dancing, she found time and energy to gain knowledge in somatic studies and earn almost 2 degrees in fashion design. Her love for design can be traced to her early years, as she created costumes for various celebrations in Colombia. As the choreographer, she's in a unique position to design the performers' costumes because her background as a seamstress and designer. In her collection, she has approximately 300 costumes, and 98% of them has been created by her. Okay. In her repertoire of choreography, she has a very large collection of dances and rituals, and every one of them tells a story. Besides Grupo Atlántico, she founded the Dancing Damsels, and that was done in 2012. This is a group of women between the ages of 55 to 90. And they come from all over the world, including countries such as Germany, the Philippines, India, and some countries in Latin America. These women are trained in the beauty of dance and movement, and this is a form of self-expression. Some join the group to embrace the culture, while others just want to have fun and dance. Her goal is to help elder women enjoy life to the fullest by being creative and expressive. Since many of these women are talented dancers, singers, musicians, writers, designers, poets, you name it, she encouraged them to use their talents to enrich their group. She has mentored hundreds of women and men, not only in folkloric dance, but also in their quest for an education. In order to prepare the next generation of dancers, she recommends them for training grants through the Missouri Folk Arts Organization. Every year, she generously offers scholarships to students interested in careers, STEM careers, and this is science, technology, engineering, and math, as well as those who excel artistically or academically. She awards the scholarship every year at the Hispanic Scholarship Alliance. Over the years, she has been affiliated with the Missouri Arts Council, Missouri Arts Organization, Missouri Folk Art Program, the Hispanic Educational and Cultural Fund, the Hispanic Scholarship Alliance, and Better Family Life, just to name a few. As a result of her work in the community, she has been recognized as a master artist by the Missouri Folk Arts Program. This year, she was honored with the 2019 Visionary Award for Outstanding Teaching Artist. Her vision is to see Grupo Atlántico serve as a force of change. She hopes that the community see them not only as a source of entertainment, but also education. She wants to convey to people who we are as immigrants by opening their minds and touching their souls. Our honorary record of achievement and leadership in our Hispanic community and community at large is indisputable. Please help me welcome to the stage the 2019 recipient of the Anthony B. Ramirez Premio Esperanza, Ms. Carmen Sofia Denz. Congratulations. Okay.
Why don't you just go ahead? Okay, sorry. Carmen, if you look over to your left, there are some proclamations from the city and the county, and there's a letter also from Senator Blunt for you on that easel there. And it's going to take too long to read every proclamation, but make sure you take those home with you tonight. And I'd like to invite our recipient for the Premio Esperanza of last year to hand over the torch to you, Jorge Rio Pérez.
Certainly, there is no script for tonight. I am here because you are here. So let me just say a poem. This poem is called Dear You, and it's written by Kaveri Patel, an Indian a person. Dear you, you who always have so many things to do, so many places to be, your mind is spinning like fan blades at high speed. Each moment always blurred because you are never still. I know you are tired. I also know it's not your fault. The constant brain buzz is like a swarm of bees threatening to sting if you close your eyes. You have forgotten something again. You need to prepare for that, or else you should have done that differently. But what if you close your eyes? Would the world fall apart without you? Or would your mind become the open sky, flock of thoughts flying across the sunshine and the sunrise as you watch and smile? So I like to invite you to close your eyes, breathe deeply, and smile at this special moment. Friends, amigos, to say that I am prepared for this recognition, I may be lying partially. I may be happy and proud of who we are, what I am, a woman, Hispanic, very low beginning as a lower middle class, no money to send me anywhere. The same story is repeated again and again and again with so many of us. But we know alone we can go a long way. Like previous speaker has said, but together, then the story is different. And in my case, I started in the city of Barranquilla with a scholarship from the university, where I got my first degree in pharmacy. I am a pharmacist as well. Coming back to United States in 1969, chasing a dream. I had 500 pesos in me when I left, and with a scholarship from the then existing ICETEX, International Colombian Institute of Specialization in the Abroad, I was able to get a scholarship from Florida State University, where I got my degree in organic chemistry. So the combination of those two degrees later on brought me to what was my home here in St. Louis at Washington University Department of Radiology. I only took pharmacy because there was chemistry there. My passion was chemistry, and that was the only field at that time at the university in which I could do some chemistry. So I said, why not? I actually helped me because before coming to United States, I was in Cali, a major city in Colombia, you know, very, very famous by the salsa. And we Barranquilleros claim that fame is not as good as what we do in the coast with salsa. But anyway, the pharmacy paid the bills while I was in Cali as head of the pharmacy department at one major hospital. While I was there, my salary, for those of you that are Colombians know the equivalent, was only 3,000 pesos. 3,000 pesos is the equivalent of $1 now in present change. So, a year later, the scholarship came through. I left my job. My boss at the hospital said, Carmen, we need you. We are going to triple your salary. Stay here, and you can expand the hospital pharmacy the way you want it. And just like throwing the bat, I say, thank you, but no thank you. So I took off, came to Florida State in 1969, just a few days before my birthday, tested the life with my English. I was so proud of my English then. And I couldn't understand anything. That's the experience of many refugees. When you have learned English abroad, come back here, and then find that it's just a blur and a noise, and you don't know when one sentence finishes and when the next one starts. You don't know whether you are supposed to answer or you are supposed to question, because you are totally lost. And that was hard. But I always smile. And I say, yes, could you repeat? Por favor. So I took the opportunity to start teaching some Spanish to those people that were trying to help me with the English, and became then a two-way communication. Somehow it worked. A few years later, the work was done. I finished at the university, went to do a little bit more of pharmacology, pharmacognosy, and so on. And fate, again, throw a big bucket at you, and you grab it. So the diverting through a trip abroad, I got married to a wonderful man, came to St. Louis. We had now celebrating our 42nd. We are going to be on our 43rd anniversary. And started my career with the Department of Radiology. That department had been home to me. There, I found the mentoring, and I found the friendship, and I found a total realization of what I wanted to be as a scientist. And again, the story repeats. You mentor someone, you get mentored, and the wheels become bigger and bigger and bigger. So, two of my mentors there were Dr. Michael Welch and Dr. Michelle Terpogoshen. I don't know how many of you are involved with the field of imaging or have been exposed to anybody that had the opportunity and the necessity to stay within any field of radiology. But radiochemistry came as an additional field for me because I had the fundamentals. So if you taking the fundamentals and then learning something new was the way to go. We presented work all over the world, groundbreaking work in the field of positron emission tomography. And that technique actually grew and was nursed here in St. Louis with the Department of Radiology. So we are very, very proud to know that through the early part of what was the Manhattan Project came the use of isotopes in medicine, and they were harnessed here at Washington University Department of Radiology in the technique that we all know as PET, positron emission tomography. So that is just a little bit of the story of how engaging the science can be, and at the same time, bringing together what Sandra alluded before, the passion for the arts. We are who we are because we have these two connected brains, the right and left brain. We all know about it. You have also heard and know about the plasticity of the brain, how things really don't just die away, but you can really bring new knowledge and new connections all the time if you go to the source of brain, heart, and creativity. That's exactly what happened then with the creation of Grupo Atlántico, which from the time that I was a child was already in this heart. The art of movement, the art of dance, creativity, expression, who we are. We do this through the so-called traditional arts. Some people call it danzas folclóricas or folk dances, but you are a ballet dancer, you are a jazz, you are a contemporary dance, but if you don't appreciate the fundamentals of what is the traditional movements, traditional arts, you're missing something. And being at Washington University gave me the opportunity to do the training that I needed in many, many art forms, as well as just the satisfaction of doing costume designing, which I love. So it's really very simple. You have a passion, you develop that passion, and then grow with that and pass it to somebody else. I have in the room my sister Elsie Diaz, who lives in Texas and had been visiting us for about a month, and I'm so happy you are here sharing with me this special moment. querida hermana. I also know that you are representing not only our parents, ancestors now, but every one of my 5 extra siblings. I'm the oldest of 6 of them, and I love you. There is 2 of my dancers sitting with me at the same table. Deborah, stand up. Maria, stand up. These women are part of Grupo Atlántico. They work very diligently, very hard in every program that we do. If I'm not here, they can take over. They can take the group anywhere that I am unable to take it because of traveling. So I thank you. And that brings almost the end of my short speech, which is thank you so very much to the institution that has shaped and enriched my life while in St. Louis. Anna Crosslin, the International Institute, you know how close and how special you are in my heart. For over all my life here in St. Louis, the International Institute has been a home for me. I have the Missouri Arts Council, my beautiful friend, Stan, you, and you know how we started 20 plus years ago, before you became an assistant director of the Missouri Arts Council. We had the Women Club of Washington University. I had 2 wonderful ladies here. They left, yes, but the club has been very instrumental in bringing grazing to the table. Better Family Life, Deborah and Malik, I am in the board of their organization, and I cannot speak enough of the work that we are doing together, and it's important. The Hispanic Scholarship Alliance, the Hispanic Leaders Group, the Missouri Dance Organization, the Missouri Association of Community Art Agencies. It's just one group of so many institutions that deserve our recognition in any way that we can give them. And more than anything else, I am happy, humble, and extraordinarily thankful for all of you, for the support that you give to our Hispanics, but more important, the support that we give to each other and the strength that we derive by being in each other's company. So thank you again. Thank you.
There's more for you in a moment. Carmen, it's not over yet for you. Noah Gonzalez from Mayor Lida Cruzen's office is with us, and he would like to have a word or 2 with you, so stay right here. Noah?
Good evening. I am not going to try to follow the 3 amazing speakers we've had this evening, so if you'd all just indulge me for a second, I'd like to read the mayor's proclamation for Carmen. Whereas on behalf of the City of St. Louis, it is my pleasure to join with the Hispanic Leaders Group of Greater St. Louis in recognizing this year's Anthony B. Ramirez Premio Esperanza, Ms. Carmen Dentz. And whereas Ms. Dentz is the founder and director of Grupo Atlántico of St. Louis, an ensemble of folk dancers whose purpose is to share the rich tri-ethnic heritage, African, Indian, and Spanish roots of the Caribbean and coastal regions of Colombia, South America. And whereas Grupo Atlántico of St. Louis as part of the Missouri Performing Traditions, the Missouri Touring Program, and the Arts Council Education Program, all of them under the guidance of the Missouri Arts Council and the Missouri Folk Arts Program. And whereas Ms. Dentz holds a BS in pharmaceutical chemistry from the Universidad del Atlántico, Barranquilla, Colombia, Master of Sciences in Organic Chemistry from Florida State University, Tallahassee, Florida, and postgraduate studies at Purdue University, West Lafayette, Indiana. But dance has been an integral part of her life since childhood. And whereas among her many honors and awards, Ms. Dentz received the Visionary Award as Outstanding Teacher Artist in 2019, the Latina of Distinction Award from the Hispanic Leaders Group in 2017, and the Better Family Life Excellence in Performing Art Award in 2016. And whereas the Anthony B. Ramirez Premio Esperanza honors those who give hope and those who seek change. And the City of St. Louis is honored to recognize Ms. Carmen Dentz for her extraordinary scientific and artistic contributions to the community. Now therefore, I, Lyda Cruson, Mayor of the City of St. Louis, do hereby proclaim September 27th, 2019 as Carmen Dentz Day in the City of St. Louis.
No puedo hablar más. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you so very much. And that is fantastic. So,
Carmen, that's what we call a twofer. Congratulations on both counts. So well deserved. How would you like to put her background on a one-page resume? Wouldn't work very well. We're beginning to wind down now, and we have one or two more pieces of business to take care of. So let me introduce now Guillermo Rodriguez, who will help us all through God Bless America.
Muchas gracias, señor Marsh.
De nada.
Buenas noches, queridos compañeros. Oye, when we were writing about this march, the Word wanted to write march like the month.
No.
I know. I kept going to the program, and no, it's M-A-R-S-H.
The other is my alias.
Tu alias. Well, when we started, we honored America by singing the national anthem, and as we also do, what's the score?
1-1.
Okay,
right.
so we only need at least 3 numbers. Okay, so we're going to finish like we always do with God Bless America. The Cardinals do it also. And now just remember that this was written by Irving Berlin in 1918, and there was a war going on. It was World War I. And most people do not know about the preamble to this, to God Bless America. Of course, all of you that have been with me here know the preamble because I've always read it. But it's important to keep in mind those words. And then all of us, we're going to sing God Bless America. And this is what Irving Berlin wrote in 1918. While the storm clouds gather far across the sea, let us swear allegiance to a land that is free. Let us all be grateful for a land so fair as we raise our voices in a solemn prayer. And we say, God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans wide with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Playboy.
Man, we've got some voices here tonight. I'm really impressed by all of this. That brings us to the conclusion of this evening's events. I want to thank you all so much for being with us, and also for your continued support for this fine organization. Many of us have learned a lot more about it than we knew coming in here tonight, and clearly it's an organization that has to be respected, revered, and supported. I know all of you know that after this evening. Thank you all for being with us. Drive home safely. Buenas noches.